Imagine that everything you believe to be true about your life is just an illusion. All the difficulties, defeats, and bitterness of disappointments you experience are actually the product of hidden laws that govern your reality, laws that were imposed on you without your consent and that you did not even know existed. But here's a revelation that can turn your world upside down. These laws are not immutable. You can change them, rewrite them as you see fit. And the amazing thing is that you have always had this opportunity. You just didn't know where to look for the key to change. Prepare to learn something incredible. In the coming minutes, you will get your hands on tools that will allow you to not only see the hidden rules of your reality, but to break them. And when those shackles fall, you'll finally be able to set yourself on the path to the life you've always dreamed of. But why do some people manage to reach dizzying heights as if by magic, while others, despite all their efforts, remain in place, unable to break out of the vicious circle? The clue lies not in outstanding intellect, not in incredible talent, and not even in banal luck. The secret of success lies in understanding one simple yet revolutionary truth. Reality is changeable. A life full of obstacles, setbacks, and disappointments lends itself to change, contrary to popular belief. The root of the problem lies in following the imposed rules set by society, family, and environment. But what if these rules are just a mirage that you can dispel and rewrite your destiny, starting right now? There is a powerful but invisible force shaping each person's reality. It's not about magic or mysticism, but a very real and measurable phenomenon, the power of beliefs. Beliefs act as a lens through which the world is perceived. Belief in limitless possibilities opens the door to discovering them at every turn. Conversely, the belief that life is a constant struggle causes the brain to focus solely on the difficulties. These are not just words, but a scientifically proven fact, confirmed by neuroscience. Every person's brain has a reticular activating system, RAS, that filters incoming information based on personal beliefs. It is this system that determines what a person notices and what remains outside of their attention span. Surely everyone is familiar with the feeling when, after learning a new word, you start noticing it everywhere. This phenomenon demonstrates the reticular activating system, RAS, in action. The point is not that the word suddenly became more frequent, but that the brain, having tuned into it, began to actively pick it out of the surrounding information noise. Now imagine the scale of this process. If the brain is able to focus on a single word, how much does the choice of objects of attention shape a person's entire life? This is where the root of the problem lies. Most people don't realize that their attention is not free, but programmed. Society, cultural norms, and childhood upbringing all impose an imprint, causing them to notice negative aspects, focus on limitations, and overlook favorable opportunities. However, there is good news. This program can be rewritten. It's worth considering. Is the reality we live in really our own? To what extent is life shaped by beliefs that have been instilled by others? You have to work hard to succeed. Money doesn't grow on trees. You don't have enough knowledge to do it. These attitudes, deeply rooted in the mind, can significantly limit potential and opportunities. The principles presented seem familiar, but it is important to remember that these are just a set of rules, not absolute truth. They are someone's personal interpretation of the truth, which can become a guideline once a person accepts them without critical reflection. However, it should be realized that truth is not something fixed and unchanging. It is dynamic and influenced by beliefs. This is why some people are able to make the dizzying leap from poverty to wealth, while others are trapped in repetitive cycles of poverty. It is the same reason why a person with no experience can successfully start and grow a thriving business while experienced professionals fail. The key difference is not in professional skills, but in belief systems. As an example, consider the story of Henry Ford, who revolutionized the automobile industry in the early 20th century. His contributions are widely recognized, but few people know that his success was based on one simple belief. While other automakers were striving to create expensive luxury cars, Ford wondered, what if we made cars affordable for the common man? This idea shattered the existing rules of the industry and led to cars becoming an integral part of modern life. Every individual faces certain principles and attitudes in their lives that seem to limit their potential and opportunities. However, it is worth considering how real these limitations are and whether they are just a figment of the imagination. The process of rethinking one's reality begins with a simple but important question. What beliefs and attitudes are not helpful and perhaps even harmful? As a first step toward change, the following exercise is suggested. You should take a notebook and write down the most urgent and pressing problem you are facing at the moment. Then ask yourself, what is the belief that keeps this problem active? For example, if a person is concerned about their inability to increase their income, the belief underlying this problem might be the thought of their own incompetence or insufficient skill level to achieve financial success. In the case of a person feeling stuck in a destructive relationship, the belief may be a disbelief that he or she is worthy of better treatment and partnership. The key to this process is to critically evaluate the identified beliefs. The question must be asked, is this belief really the absolute truth? In most cases, a person will come to the realization that it is merely a subjective interpretation of reality, a story they are telling themselves. It is important to realize that the rules and principles that have guided one's life are not immutable and unchangeable. They are like inscriptions in the sand that can be erased by a wave of doubt and rethinking. Once a person decides to challenge these limiting beliefs, they begin to lose their power and influence, gradually dissolving in the light of new understanding. Rather than passively accepting the circumstances presented, each individual has the potential to create a new reality, the starting point of which is the revision of established beliefs. It is worth reflecting on a concept that can radically change perception. What if the whole structure of reality is a kind of game? In this game, the rules, possible outcomes, and even the difficulties encountered are not immutable. The paradox is that most people involved in this process are not aware of the fact that they are involved, because they are completely absorbed in following a prescribed script. The most striking thing, however, is that each of us is not just a player, but has the power to change the rules. Scientific research suggests that the material world, including familiar objects such as furniture and pressing problems, is made up of atoms, which are 99.99% empty space. Thus, the question arises, what gives these objects a sense of reality? The answer lies in the mind, perception, and belief in their materiality. It is necessary to realize the profound meaning of this discovery and its impact on everyone's life. Imagine how your consciousness can transform lifeless space into something tangible and real. Think about what other creations, perhaps without realizing it, are you creating in your life, and what might emerge if you looked at the world from a different angle, changing the rules of the game. Let me turn to an invisible force that has a tremendous impact on our lives. It's not predetermination or chance, but something much more powerful that unfortunately escapes most people's attention. It's about your attention, your ability to focus. Think of your brain as a powerful spotlight. Wherever you direct its beam, that is what becomes your perception of reality. And because the object of your concentration tends to grow and intensify, you are constantly energizing the reality in which you exist. If you are focused on difficulties and failures, they will, as by the law of attraction, arise again and again. But if your eyes are focused on opportunities, they will begin to appear before you everywhere, as if doors to new worlds are opening. However, here is the paradox. Most of us, without realizing it, direct our spotlight on the wrong objects. And this is not your fault. From childhood, under the influence of society, upbringing, and the media, we are programmed to focus on lack, fear, and limitation. How often have each of us caught ourselves thinking, "I can't afford this," or "I'm not competent enough to do this"? This internal dialogue, these self-limiting statements, are like a spell shaping our lives. Why does this happen? The fact is that our brain, like a faithful servant, begins to search diligently for confirmation to prove the validity of these thoughts. However, the situation changes dramatically when we switch the focus of our attention. There is a concept that can overturn the usual worldview. The reality around us does not define who we are, but merely reflects who we think we are. Imagine a mirror. When you look in it, you don't blame the reflection if your clothes look sloppy. You realize that the mirror is only showing your current state. The same is true of life. If you don't like what you see around you, whether it's financial difficulties, unsatisfying relationships, or a lack of a sense of purpose, the root of the problem lies not in external circumstances, but in your inner world. But the good news is that just as a change of outfit instantly transforms your reflection in the mirror, a change in your internal beliefs can lead to amazing transformations in your external reality. Here is an effective method that can transform the perception of reality and direct attention in the right direction. The first step is to conduct a thorough analysis of the current state of affairs. It is recommended to allocate just a few minutes to fix in writing 3 key areas of life, causing a sense of stagnation or dissatisfaction. In close proximity to each, note spontaneously occurring thoughts associated with that area. Examples include the following statements: finances, chronic lack of money, personal relationships, lack of understanding from others, professional activities, insufficient qualifications to achieve career heights. The second stage involves a radical change of perspective. For each negative attitude, it is necessary to formulate a statement opposite in meaning. For example, instead of "I never have enough," you should say, "I am constantly discovering new opportunities to attract abundance." The phrase "no one understands me" is transformed into "I attract relationships that support and inspire me." It is recommended that you say these new affirmations out loud every morning for a week, every day. The effectiveness of this method is due to the peculiarities of the functioning of the human brain, which is essentially a pattern recognition mechanism. When the brain begins to receive new information, it is activated in search of affirmations that reinforce these new attitudes. This practice relies not only on speculative conclusions, but also on validated neuroscience data. The third step consists of a 5-minute visualization. It is necessary to close your eyes and imagine yourself as a person who is already living the life you dream of, feeling as if it were happening at the moment. It is important to feel the emotions accompanying success, joy, and prosperity. The brighter and more intense these feelings are, the more powerful signal will be sent to the brain. At first, it may seem unusual, but it is worth remembering that everyone is constantly engaged in visualization. When someone is anxious, they visualize failure. When overpowered by self-doubt, pictures of defeat arise in the imagination. The only difference is that now this process will take place consciously and purposefully. Let's imagine that the desired life already exists, waiting for its hour in a parallel reality. There is no need to chase after it or work hard to achieve it, because it is already here. The only obstacle between a person and this reality is the energy he/she is emitting at the moment. It is important to realize one deep truth. A person's energy is his personal signal sent to the universe. Imagine a radio receiver. If it is tuned to the wave of negativity, fear, and uncertainty, these are the feelings that will prevail in your life. But just switch to the frequency of prosperity, unshakable confidence, and sincere joy, as you will begin to attract in your life favorable events, like a magnet. And this is not just esoteric reasoning, but a scientifically explainable principle. Every thought, every experience generates certain vibrations to which the universe reacts sensitively, providing life experience corresponding to your energetic mood. This is the essence of the law, like attracts like. However, a natural question arises: how to change your energetic background? How to move from the feeling of hopelessness and despondency to the emission of energy that can do wonders? To begin with, it is necessary to realize what exactly holds you back on the spot. Many people do not even realize that they are in a vicious circle of low-frequency vibrations. The source of this negative energy is fear, anger, guilt, and shame. It is these burdensome emotions that keep you from moving forward and keep you in a state of stagnation. Amazingly, clinging to negative feelings is like carrying a heavy load in the form of a bag of bricks. Each brick symbolizes a burdensome memory, limiting beliefs, or restraining fears that are like an anchor holding you back from moving forward and growing as a person. The saddest part is that many people don't even realize they are carrying this weight. It is worthwhile to stop for a moment, close your eyes, and ask yourself an important question. What vestiges of the past am I still holding on to that are no longer useful and only burden my life? Perhaps it is a paralyzing fear of failure, an oppressive resentment toward the person who caused the pain, or a deep-seated belief in my own inferiority. However, it is necessary to recognize the obvious. It is impossible to transform your energy field, continuing to drag these bricks behind you. The only way out is to free yourself from them, to let go of the past, and here is how it can be realized. The first step on the way to liberation is to identify these very bricks. It is necessary to take a notebook and write down a specific thing to which a person continues to cling and which is felt as an unbearable burden. It could be a tormenting regret, an overwhelming fear, or a limiting belief. It is important to honestly ask yourself, what benefit does this brick bring me? In most cases, after sincere introspection, it will become clear that it is completely useless, that it is just a story one tells oneself, thus justifying one's inaction and unwillingness to change. The next step is to unburden oneself. It is suggested to close your eyes, take a deep breath, and imagine a weighty brick clutched in your hands. It is necessary to recreate in your imagination as clear an image as possible: dimensions, mass, texture. And now it is necessary to imagine how the release from this load occurs. The brick falls out of your hands. It is important to feel how the heaviness leaves the body and say out loud, I am letting it go. It no longer has power over me. The third step is to fill the resulting void with light. After the imaginary brick is released, you should visualize a bright, warming light filling the space where it has just been. This light symbolizes the inflow of new energy that opens new horizons. It is recommended to repeat this practice daily for a week and observe the transformation of the energetic state. It is worth noting that one important aspect is often overlooked. Emotions are nothing but energy in motion. They are not a constant and do not define a person's personality. They are merely signals seeking to find an outlet. However, when a person resists or suppresses them, they get stuck, which is what leads to low vibrations. The key is to allow the emotions to flow freely. When a feeling of fear arises, one should not fight it. When there is a cat scratching at your heart, you should not hide your head in the sand. Instead, accept the feeling as a valued guest. Express your gratitude for the meaningful message it brings and allow it to leave freely. Here is an effective method. When you are overwhelmed by a wave of strong feelings, pause, close your eyes, and take 3 deep conscious breaths. Ask yourself a question: what exactly is this emotion trying to convey to my consciousness? Once you are able to decipher the hidden message, say, Thank you for the lesson you have taught me, and now I am letting you go. This simple practice helps your life energy to flow freely, preventing it from stagnating and forming negative patterns. Now that we've gotten rid of the inner obstacles, let's discuss how you can instantly raise your vibration to tune into the wave of the life you dream of. The first step in this journey is gratitude, your secret weapon. Did you know that gratitude is one of the highest frequency states available to humans? Start each morning by writing down 3 things for which you feel sincere gratitude. But here is an important nuance. Do not limit yourself to a simple list, but feel gratitude with every cell of your body. Let it fill your heart with warmth and light. The second step is visualization, your personal portal to the world of possibilities. Dedicate just a few minutes each day to a deep visualization of the life you desire. Try to recreate in your imagination all the details, the visuals, sensations, and sounds that fill that ideal picture. The more vivid and realistic your vision, the more powerful impulse you will send out into the universe. The next important step is to activate energy through movement. As we know, energy is channeled where there is activity. Do dancing, take walks, do stretching exercises, do anything that gets your body moving. Physical activity helps to dissipate built-up energy and instantly raise your vibration. It's equally important to surround yourself with sources of positive energy. Pay close attention to your surroundings, the people you socialize with, the media you use, and even the thoughts that visit your head. All of these things have a direct impact on your energy vibration. Start treating your life like an artist creating a masterpiece, carefully selecting and eliminating everything unnecessary. It is important to realize that you are not a passive victim of circumstances, but a creator of your own reality. The energy you emit directly determines what you attract into your life. As soon as you begin to consciously change your vibration, your whole life begins to transform. At this point, transformation is taking place. It feels like the awakening of a dormant power, but it is only the beginning. In the future, there will be an entrance to a qualitatively new level, a demonstration of how to use the available tools and rules not only to change one's own energy, but also to rethink the laws of reality itself. Truly revolutionary discoveries will be encountered. All beliefs about life, limitations, abilities, and potential are based on rules that were not self-created. You need to reflect on who decided that you have to work 40 hours a week to succeed, or that you have to wait for the right time to realize your dreams. The truth is that these rules are just stories created by society, upbringing, and past experiences. The most amazing thing is that these stories are only powerful because of the belief in them. However, it is possible to rewrite history, to free oneself from the rules that hold back development and create new ones that allow one to live the life one is meant to live. Imagine a situation where you are imprisoned, but the paradox is that you are not even aware of your imprisonment. The walls of this prison are not made of rough stone or cold steel, but of limiting beliefs that are deeply rooted in your mind. These may include thoughts of inferiority, fear of risk, warnings of danger, and misconceptions about the impossibility of success for your type of person. And there it is, the stunning fact. The door to this prison has always been open. Freedom is within reach, but most people hesitate to take a step toward it for the reason that they have convinced themselves of their inability to break free. Stop for a moment and think, what rules and principles that guide your life feel like prison walls restricting your freedom? Perhaps it's the mistaken belief that you need someone else's permission to realize your dreams, or the belief that failure is an absolute evil to be avoided at all costs. Now ask yourself a key question. What if these rules and restrictions have no basis in reality? What if you yourself, for no apparent reason, are holding back your potential and limiting your opportunities? Let us explore this problem further. I offer you a simple but effective exercise that will help you identify and rethink those rules that prevent your development and self-actualization. The first step on this path is to discover the limiting rule. Think of an area of your life where you feel stuck, where progress seems impossible. There comes a time in every person's life when he or she faces the need to rethink established rules and beliefs, whether in career, personal life, or striving for self-improvement. It is important to ask yourself, what unspoken rules do I follow in this or that sphere? Perhaps it's the attitude that I need to hold on to my current job for fear of losing stability, or the belief that I don't have enough skills to start my own business, or the disbelief in the possibility of finding true love because of my perceived inferiority. The next step is to question these rules. Are they really unshakable? In most cases, it turns out that they are just learned beliefs that have never been critically analyzed. It is necessary to dig deeper and find out the origin of these rules. Perhaps they were instilled by parents, shaped by past failures, or are the result of public opinion. Finally, it is time to reformulate these rules. Instead of limiting beliefs, new empowering ones need to be created. For example, instead of the rule, I should stay in this job because it's safe, a new one can be established. I deserve a job that is fulfilling and I believe in my ability to find it. Or instead of thinking, I can't start my own business because I don't have the skills, you can come to believe, I am capable of learning the skills I need and creating a successful business that will benefit people. In today's world, there are limitless horizons for self-improvement because everyone is capable of learning any skills necessary to achieve success. It is important to consciously form your own rules of life, rereading them daily and observing the transformation of thinking and behavior. It is worth thinking about how the brain interacts with the surrounding reality. It is like a skillful lawyer who is constantly looking for confirmation of its owner's beliefs. If a person is convinced of his or her own incompetence, the brain will relentlessly find evidence for that thought. Conversely, a belief in one's own irrepressibility will open the door to finding relevant confirmations. This is why revising personal rules is of tremendous importance. By creating new, inspiring beliefs, a person encourages their brain to search for arguments to support them. The more such arguments that are found, the more entrenched those beliefs will become. As an example, we can cite a famous study in which the participants were maids. They were told that their daily work, which included cleaning and other physical activities, was a complete workout. As a result, after a few weeks, the women began to lose weight, even though they made no changes to their daily routine. This experiment clearly demonstrates how changing beliefs can affect physiological processes in the body. It's all about the transformation of internal beliefs that can influence the physical state of a person. The body, like a mirror, reflects changes in thinking, demonstrating how deeply our thoughts are rooted in us. Imagine the limitless possibilities that would open up if you rethink your own perceptions of potential. Rethinking the rules of the game is only the starting point on the road to true freedom. For the new reality to become tangible, it must be nourished daily. The first step toward this is daily affirmations. Create 3 affirmations based on the new rules you want to incorporate into your life. For example, you could say, I have the ability to accomplish any goal I set for myself. Opportunities come to me easily and effortlessly, and I am worthy of love and success. Say these words out loud every morning, putting all your faith and conviction into them. The second step is to act as if your new rules are already a reality. Start acting in accordance with your new beliefs. If your new rule says, I can master everything I need to succeed, enroll in a training course, or start studying useful materials. Action builds belief and brings you closer to your desired goal. The third step is to surround yourself with people and circumstances that are conducive to your growth and development. Pay attention to who you socialize with and the environment you are in. Avoid negative influence and seek to socialize with those who support your endeavors and inspire you to new achievements. In order to make significant changes in your life, you need to create an atmosphere around you filled with inspiring individuals whose achievements and views motivate you to new accomplishments. It is important to carefully shape the information space in social networks, selecting content that is in line with the aspirations for positive change and personal growth. The key point is honest and deep self-analysis. You need to ask yourself, what are your true beliefs about yourself? This is not about declarative statements or opinions expressed in society, but about those innermost thoughts that one whispers to oneself in private. There is a pattern. The standard of living will never exceed the level of personal beliefs. Every decision made, every opportunity utilized or missed is conditioned by what one believes is possible for oneself. Belief in one's purpose and ability to achieve greatness opens pathways to success. However, if a person is convinced of his inferiority, no favorable circumstances can change his perception of reality. Paradoxically, most of the beliefs that a person holds within himself are not his own. They have been instilled by others, parents, teachers, friends, society. These imposed beliefs carry around with them like a heavy weight that restrains their potential and limits their opportunities for growth. Today, we are embarking on a thorough dissection of this phenomenal backpack of possibilities, and by the time you complete this analysis, you will possess a full understanding of how to utilize its potential to its fullest. The power of faith can create a life so outstanding that it will seem like a true miracle. And here is the secret that unfortunately escapes most people's attention. Faith is not just a passing thought that flashes through your mind. It is a clear instruction directed to the entire universe. Let me explain. When you sincerely believe in something, your mind is immediately activated, seeking confirmation of that belief. This is not just naive wishful thinking, it is a scientifically valid process. There is a unique system in our brain known as the reticular activating system, or RAS. Its primary function is to filter the vast amount of information we encounter on a daily basis and to isolate only the data that is consistent with our beliefs. For example, if you are convinced that you are experiencing ongoing financial difficulties, your brain will automatically screen out any opportunities to improve your financial situation, focusing solely on situations that confirm your negative attitude. However, if you believe that you are a magnet for abundance and prosperity, your brain will begin to actively notice and attract opportunities to earn and grow your capital. Surprisingly, the reticular activating system, RAS, does not distinguish between truth and falsehood, but simply reflects a person's dominant attitudes. A legitimate question arises: what is the focus of a person's attention? It is worth thinking about the fact that beliefs influence not only thought processes, but also the physical state. The placebo effect is well known. When patients taking pacifiers, but convinced of the effectiveness of the medicine, demonstrate an improvement in condition comparable to the results of taking real medication. This is due to the fact that belief is able to cause physiological changes in the body. If faith has healing powers, one can imagine the horizons it opens up in one's professional life, personal life, and finances. However, just as positive beliefs can work wonders, negative attitudes can cause self-sabotage. There is even a term, nocebo effect, to describe a situation where negative beliefs are detrimental to health or prevent recovery. In this regard, it is important to ask what ingrained beliefs, perhaps unconsciously, are inhibiting personal growth and development, and what horizons would open up if they were replaced with empowering and self-confident beliefs. Here is an effective method of transforming limiting attitudes to unlock dormant potential. The first step on this path is to identify limiting beliefs. To do this, it is recommended to take a notebook and focus on the area of life where you feel stagnation and dissatisfaction. It is necessary to honestly ask yourself, what particular belief is keeping me from moving forward? For example, if career growth has stalled, the reason might be, I'm not competent enough to make significant progress. In the case of difficulties in personal life, the belief, I don't deserve sincere love and acceptance, may be an obstacle. The second important step is to critically analyze the identified belief. It is necessary to record in detail all the arguments that cast doubt on the truth of this statement. For example, if pursuing the idea of lack of intelligence for career achievements, it is worth recalling situations when it was possible to successfully solve complex problems, learn new skills, or achieve goals, despite the difficulties. It is also important to analyze the origin of this belief by asking yourself the question, where did this thought come from? Often it turns out that the belief has its roots in the past, in a particular episode, or random comment that a person continues to carry around with them, unconsciously limiting their capabilities. The third step toward change is to replace the limiting beliefs. It is necessary to formulate a new, inspiring attitude that will open horizons for personal growth. For example, if a person previously believed that he or she was not competent enough to succeed, now he or she can say, I have the ability to learn whatever knowledge and skills are necessary to triumph. This new, empowering attitude should be captured on a sticker and placed in a prominent place where it will be a daily reminder, whether it is a bathroom mirror, a desk, or a phone screensaver. The fourth step is to reinforce the new belief with actions. At least one small action should be taken each day that is consistent with the new belief. For example, if a person is committed to believing they are worthy of love, they should pamper themselves with something nice every day. It is important to realize that reprogramming beliefs is not a one-time action, but an ongoing process that requires daily practice. Each repetition of the new belief, each action consistent with it, strengthens its position in the mind. This process can be compared to going to the gym. It is impossible to build muscle mass in one workout. It is the same with beliefs. It takes time and systematic effort to transform them. It is undeniable that systematic practice plays a key role in shaping one's personality and perception of the world. Beliefs, being powerful drivers of change, lay the foundation for personal growth and transformation. However, despite the importance of belief, it would be reckless to rely solely on it. Visualizing a desired future is undoubtedly important, but without concrete action, it runs the risk of being just a pipe dream. Paradoxically, many people prefer to wait for the moment when the feeling of readiness finally hits them, not realizing that this waiting may be just a manifestation of procrastination. In reality, faith does not precede action, but rather is a consequence of it. Each step forward, even the smallest, reinforces a new reality and sends a clear signal to the brain about who one is becoming. This begs the question, which action is the person avoiding at the moment? Which step causes the most fear? It is probably in this action that the key to realizing one's most cherished desires lies. A common mistake is overthinking, which paralyzes the will and prevents it from moving forward. Many people take the time to carefully analyze, develop plans, and strategize, but risk falling into an endless cycle of inaction. It's a familiar situation, isn't it? Let me share with you a revolutionary truth. True insight comes through action, not reflection. You don't have to have comprehensive knowledge to begin your journey. It is enough just to take the next step. Imagine a nighttime car ride. The light of the headlights catches only a small section of road out of the darkness, but as you move forward, more and more of the path opens up. It's the same in life. You don't need to see the whole road. You just need to believe that each step you take brings you closer to your goal. This is the power of action. Every time a person acts, he or she literally transforms his or her brain. Neuroscientists call this phenomenon neuroplasticity, i.e., the brain's ability to form new neural connections based on experience. For example, if a person has always believed he or she is insecure but begins to take small but confident steps, such as voicing an opinion in a meeting or meeting strangers, his or her brain begins to reorganize. By taking certain steps, a person gradually develops an unshakable confidence in his own abilities. If earlier he was haunted by the thought of inability to achieve success, then, starting with small but significant tasks, he makes his mind believe the opposite. I am capable. This is why action becomes the cornerstone of self-development. It is not only about achieving goals, but also about profound changes in personality. To put this into action, you can use an exercise called the Rule of Small Wins. The first step is to choose an area for concentration. It is necessary to determine the area of life that you want to transform. It can be career, health, personal relationships, or spiritual growth. The second step is to determine the minimum possible action. Ask yourself the question, what is the smallest action I can take today to get closer to my goal? For example, if the goal is to improve your health, that action might be a morning glass of water. If the goal is to improve your financial situation, you could start by putting aside a small amount of money, such as $5, in a savings account. To build self-confidence, you can apply the following method. When you meet a stranger on the street, make eye contact with him. It is important to commit to practicing immediately without putting it off for later. You should repeat this exercise daily until it becomes a habit. The effectiveness of this approach is due to the fact that even small successes create positive momentum, convincing the mind that change is possible and motivating it to take greater action. The momentum tends to build up over time, like a snowball rolling down a mountain. At first, it is small and slow, but gradually it gathers speed and increases in size, becoming a powerful force. Similarly, a small action done today may seem insignificant, but if repeated over a month, it will become a steady habit that builds self-confidence. Turning certain actions into an ingrained habit, a person begins to see the opening prospects and realize large-scale undertakings. Unnoticeably, these modest steps are transformed into significant achievements. That is why one should adhere to the principle, start small, but without putting it off for later. It is important to realize that the main opponent is not fear, but inaction. Fear gains power only when a person is in a state of stagnation. As soon as he starts an activity, even the most insignificant, he returns to a sense of control over the situation. Fear flourishes in conditions of uncertainty, but by taking concrete steps, a person transforms the unknown into something understandable and predictable. Active action provides valuable information, allowing one to understand which approaches are effective and which are not, and to determine next steps. The next time you face fear, you should not succumb to numbness, but use it as an incentive to move forward, convincing yourself, I am experiencing fear, but I will act anyway. If fear restrains initiative, you can apply the following simple technique. Choose a task that the person has been avoiding, whether it is sending an email, making a phone call, or starting a new project. Start a 60-second countdown and make a promise to yourself to focus on the task for that short minute. It is often the case that the initial fear fades away once you get down to business and you find yourself able to keep going. It is important to realize that significant change does not require an overnight revolution. Transformation does not happen in leaps and bounds, but gradually, step by step. As you look through this material, you are already opening your mind to new perspectives and taking the first step toward change. In the next section, we will try to give additional impetus to your efforts. You will learn how to combine the power of conviction and action to create a reality that will exceed your expectations and seem like a true miracle. This is where the magic begins, so don't miss this moment. Now that you have realized the power of belief and the need for active action, you begin to review the rules of your life and take concrete steps towards transformation. And this is where the fun begins. The ordinary gives way to the extraordinary, and the process of change becomes almost magical. What if there is a method that allows you to multiply all the knowledge you have received, to direct your beliefs, actions, and energy to the transformations occurring at the most fundamental level of the universe? After all, it is well known that the universe does not function according to straightforward laws. The changes are not gradual, but jump-like, exponentially. When a person harmonizes his thoughts, feelings, and actions, he is connected to such a powerful force that it seems as if he changes the very fabric of reality. This is a phenomenon that can be called quantum transformation. And below, we will consider the mechanism of its application in practice. To begin with, we should ask ourselves a question. Why many people, despite their hard work, cannot break out of the vicious circle? They have aspirations, they make efforts, but no tangible changes take place. The secret lies in achieving alignment. Most people's thoughts, emotions, and actions are disjointed. They dream of success, but have doubts. They act, but their energy is permeated with fear or hopelessness. It is this inconsistency that frustrates their efforts. The universe, contrary to popular belief, is not an echo of our words or fleeting desires. It responds to the very essence of our being. True magic begins when our thoughts, feelings, and actions merge in a single impulse aimed at achieving a cherished goal. A quantum leap in reality becomes possible when harmony is achieved between three essential components: the mind, which determines our perception of reality; feelings, which color our attitude toward it; and actions, which shape our future. Let's look at how to achieve this harmonization step by step. First of all, you need to clearly articulate your desire. Write down the specific goal you seek to realize, avoiding vague language. Instead of an abstract, "I want more money," set a measurable goal, such as, "I intend to make $10,000 in the next 3 months." Next, you should align your thoughts. Analyze your current beliefs about this desire. If you find negative or limiting attitudes, such as, "I'm not sure I can do this," replace them with positive statements that expand your horizons. "I am absolutely confident in my ability to achieve this outcome." To reinforce the new beliefs in your daily life, it is recommended to use affirmations, repeating positive affirmations daily. The next important step is to align the emotional state with the desired goals, where visualization plays a central role. It is necessary to devote about 5 minutes daily, visualizing the achievement of the goal as a fait accompli, and sincerely experiencing the associated emotions, such as joy, gratitude, and confidence. The intensity of these positive emotions directly affects the strength of the signal sent to the universe. The fourth step is to align your actions with your goals. To do this, it is recommended to break down a large goal into smaller, more specific steps and perform at least one of them every day. It is important to remember that each action creates momentum, which in turn strengthens the belief in success. Now that the process of shaping your desired reality is better understood, the key is integration, combining thoughts, emotions, and actions to achieve tangible results. It is important to realize that each person is surrounded by an invisible energy field that is constantly interacting with the energy of the world around them. This statement is supported by scientific data because physicists have proven that everything in the universe consists of energy vibrating at different frequencies. According to esoteric teachings, achieving the desired is possible through harmonizing one's own energy with the frequency of dreams, which creates the effect of attraction. However, as practice shows, the human energy field is often burdened with negative vibrations, such as fear and doubt, which hinders the achievement of harmony. This is similar to trying to receive a radio signal in conditions of strong interference. To achieve a qualitative change, it is necessary to clear your energy space and raise your vibrational background. A simple but effective ritual for resetting the energy field is suggested. The first step is grounding. It is necessary to find a quiet place where you can sit or stand, close your eyes, and take a few deep breaths. In the process, visualize how roots sprout from the feet deep into the ground, providing a stable connection with the earth. The second step is getting rid of negativity. It is important to visualize how dense dark energy concentrates around the body. With each exhalation, one should imagine how this negative energy leaves the body and dissolves in the earth, freeing the space. The third step is filling with light. It is necessary to imagine a bright golden light pouring from above and visualize how this light penetrates into every cell of the body, filling it with warmth, energy, and positivity. The fourth step on the path to change is to form a clear intention. As a culmination of this stage, it is recommended to say out loud the statement that will become your manifesto. I am directing my energy to attract abundance, love, and unlimited possibilities, and I am absolutely ready to accept them into my life. It is important to realize that the process of transformation does not have to be a long process measured in years. When a person reaches a state of complete harmony with themselves and the world around them, change can happen almost instantly. Think about it. Just one phone call can dramatically change the trajectory of a career. One conversation can transform a relationship, and a single decision can turn the course of an entire life in a completely new direction. This phenomenon is known as a quantum leap, a sudden and significant shift that instantly transports a person into a new reality. Such leaps are possible when an individual is in a state of complete alignment, radiating the energy of his or her deepest desires. Perhaps at this moment you feel a certain excitement within yourself, a premonition of new possibilities, and a burst of energy. This indicates that the process of magic has already begun. At the very moment when you begin to harmonize your thoughts, emotions, and actions, there is an activation of inner power that cannot be stopped. However, despite the progress you have made, the work on yourself is not yet complete. In the final part of our narrative, we will bring all the elements together to demonstrate how to not only initiate profound change, but to make it sustainable by creating a life so full of miracles that it will feel like a dream come true. The reader has already accomplished something remarkable. He has questioned the established rules of his life, redirected his inner energy, and begun to take action, transforming his reality in ways that previously seemed unthinkable. However, there is a little-known but critically important aspect. Transformation is not an isolated experience, but an ongoing process that requires constant work on oneself. Many people who embark on the path of change eventually lose their initial fervor and revert to old habits, beliefs, and behaviors. The reason for this lies in the inability to sustain the changes achieved. But today, this trend will be broken. The reader will learn how to make the new, improved reality not a temporary refuge, but a permanent habitat. It is about turning the extraordinary into the ordinary. Recall how often when starting a new project, whether it be a fitness program, working on a mindset, or achieving an ambitious goal, you can find yourself reverting back to old, familiar patterns of behavior after a while. In the pursuit of change, there is often a sense of moving forward and then rolling backwards, which is certainly frustrating. The reason lies in the fact that the familiar environment and lifestyle create a comfort zone that the brain subconsciously strives for, even if it hinders development. However, paradoxically, it is comfort that is the main enemy of progress. To maintain positive changes, it is necessary to free oneself from the shackles of old habits, developing a clear system of actions, a daily routine that will guide to a new reality. There is a simple but effective practice taking only 10 minutes a day, that can support personal transformation and align actions with higher aspirations. The first step is a morning visualization that takes about 3 minutes. It is recommended to start the day with your eyes closed, visualizing your dream life in every detail, feeling the emotions, hearing the sounds, imagining every little detail. During this visualization, it is important to affirm, "This is who I am. This is my reality." Second step, cultivating a sense of appreciation. 3 minutes. It is recommended to make a list of 3 items for which you feel deep gratitude. However, it is important to take the time to sincerely feel this feeling, allow it to penetrate every cell of your being, and thereby increase your energy level. Third step, creating a daily intention, 3 minutes. It is necessary to define one specific action that you commit to perform during the day, which will correspond to your idea of the desired reality. It is important that this action be small and easy to accomplish. For example, if you are striving for financial independence, your step could be to explore additional income opportunities. If your goal is to build harmonious relationships, you can start by sending a nice message to a loved one. Fourth step, evening self-analysis, 1 minute. Before going to bed, ask yourself the question, did I live this day in accordance with my idea of the new, desired reality? If the answer is yes, rejoice in your successes and progress. If the answer is no, don't be self-deprecating. Just make a firm decision to do more tomorrow. Lastly, let me share with you an important thought that may change the way you think about achieving goals. Small but consistent actions have a much greater impact than infrequent but large-scale efforts. The steady repetition of new behaviors leads to the strengthening of relevant neural connections in the brain. Over time, these connections become so strong that the new habit becomes ingrained and performed automatically. A prime example is brushing your teeth in the morning, which happens without any effort of will or reminder. This ritual has become so deeply embedded in the neural structure of the brain that it has become an integral part of daily life. The same principle applies to personal transformation. Daily practice of self-improvement and positive change gradually transforms it into a natural state. In order to maintain the results achieved, it is necessary to create a favorable environment that will encourage further growth. The first step on this path is to eliminate triggers, that is, factors that encourage a return to old, undesirable habits. These could be negative people, the clutter around you, or even certain apps on your smartphone. If possible, you should get rid of these distractions. The second step is to add anchors, that is, elements that will constantly remind you of the new desired reality. This can be inspirational quotes hung on the walls, a visualization board with images reflecting dreams and goals, or even an alarm clock that will charge you with self-confidence every morning. The third step on the way to transformation is to create an environment filled with positive energy. It is no secret that the people with whom a person spends most of his time have a tremendous impact on his inner state. Therefore, you should give preference to communicating with those who are able to inspire, support, and inspire optimism. It is important to realize one of the most liberating truths. Transformation is not just about achieving a goal, it is an exciting journey. Life appears as an endless game with no finish line, no final arrival point. One should not strive for unattainable perfection, but for constant growth, learning, and expanding horizons. When one adopts such a philosophy, amazing changes occur. Gone is the fear of failure, because they are perceived as an integral part of the game. Gone is the obsessive desire to meet deadlines, because comes the understanding of continuous movement forward. And most importantly, people start to really enjoy the process itself. At this moment, everyone is on the threshold of a new reality. Challenging the established rules, changing your energy, and taking the first steps towards transformation, it is important to realize that this is only the beginning of an exciting journey. Human beings have inexhaustible potential, and the only barriers holding them back are the ones they erect in their own minds. It is time to break free of these shackles and realize your power to become the creator of your own destiny, making your wildest dreams come true. At the end of this stage of self-discovery, a person is invited to accept the challenge, without delay, to put the acquired knowledge into practice. Not tomorrow, and not in a week, but today one should start small, but make the first step. To rethink one of your beliefs, to make a deed that requires courage, to direct your energy to achieve what you want, and then the universe will open its doors towards you. If this message resonates in your soul, you should not keep it to yourself. It should be shared with those who need support and inspiration. And if a person is ready for further development, he is invited to join the community of like-minded people, because this is only the beginning of a great journey. It should be remembered that the rules of the game are not carved in stone. They can be changed, and everyone is a player who can rewrite the script of his life. As a sign of readiness to change, it is suggested to write in the comments, "I am changing now."